Yeah. Would you say that you should play them all if it's up your arsenal?
Exactly. And you should go commando while you do
Yeah.
it.
Do you have a synopsis for the game?
Yeah, so after Ratchet and Clank have gone on many of their adventures, this people of Metropolis City or whatever city they live in decide to have a parade for them, and Clank is finally going to give Ratchet what he feels he deserves, and he rebuilds the Dimensionator, which is something that has been around a lot in recent Ratchet and Clank games, so that Ratchet can find his people, the Lombaxes, because as of right now, in their home dimension, Ratchet is the only one. And they left a while ago. There's a whole other game about why they left and where they went and, how Ratchet's going to find them. The evil Dr. Nefarious, who is probably one of my favorite video game villains of all time, because that dude's hilarious in every single game he's in,
Yeah.
shows back up and decides to steal the Dimensionator to find a dimension where he always wins. Dr. Nefarious takes some mad L's in this franchise.
I can only imagine.
Oh my gosh.
He feels like as soon as I heard him talk and stuff, I'm like, Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah. Well, when he first showed up in Ratchet and Clank 3 on the PS2, he wasn't that way. Like, he actually was intimidating. But as the series has gone on, he's just become a joke. But he's like my favorite joke.
Yeah.
And his assistant, who's normally there, wasn't in the game, but he's like a robo butler named Lawrence. And so Dr. Nefarious has this classic yell that he does. I'm going to move the mic back for this. He goes, Lawrence! Like that. And so and you don't get that in this game.
No.
Because, Lawrence is on paid paternity leave, which again is really funny because he's a robot. And so Dr. Nefarious steals the Dimensionator to find a dimension where he always wins. And Ratchet, in his infinite wisdom, trying to stop Dr. Nefarious from using it, shoots the Dimensionator because he's a genius, because Ratchet is so smart.
Yep.
And then, they get displaced, and then we meet the new alternate dimension counterpart for Ratchet, the female Lombax known as Rivet. And then the game kind of takes off from there, where they're trying to stop Dr. Nefarious, because in the dimension they're in, he is Emperor Nefarious. And so they go to a bunch of planets, just basically trying to rebuild the Dimensionator, because it got destroyed, so that they can stop him. And they have lots of fun along the way. And then we meet another version of Clank, his counterpart, who's named Kit. So you got Ratchet and Clank, and you got Rivet and Kit. And they finally encounter, towards the end of the story, the actual Emperor Nefarious. And he is not a joke. He's actually, he's quite competent, unlike Dr. Nefarious. You fight him because he decides, I've taken over this dimension. I need to take over every dimension. He pulls an Ultron in Marvel's What If, where he's like, there's so much more.
Yeah.
I can have more. But our heroes win. And standard Ratchet and Clank stuff. If you've played one, you should play a lot of them. I wouldn't say all of them, because there's a lot, and not all of them are as good.
Yeah. Would you say that you should play them all if it's up your arsenal?
Exactly. And you should go commando while you do it. There's literally a game called Size Matters.
Yes. Yes, I know.
And I'm like, all right. We're just doing that, I guess.
That's the most I know about the series, is that they just make jokes in all of the names of the games.
An innuendo. Yeah. It's great. As a kid, when you're like, going commando, and then up your arsenal, and you're like, okay. And then you have a PSP, and you go,
Size Matters.
You go, guys, Mom and Dad, can you buy me Ratchet and Clank Size Matters? And they go, what? And you go, no, I swear. It's fine. Then there's Secret Agent Clank, which is a good game.
Is that another PSP game?
PSP and PS2 is one of those. But all in all, that's kind of a brief synopsis.
Yeah. Because I honestly didn't retain a lot of the plot from this game. Like, I
Yeah.
know that, like, okay, the whole thing is the MacGuffin. I guess it's not really a MacGuffin, but the
There's lots of
Dimensionator.
MacGuffins that they're trying to get.
Yeah.
The phase quartz, the
Mhm.
dimensional map.
The first thing that I noticed immediately, so if I haven't said it already, this was my first Ratchet and Clank game. In fact, this was my first non-Spider-Man Insomniac game, which I don't know what else they've done besides Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man, but
Sunset Overdrive.
yeah, I haven't played that.
Resistance, Fall of Man.
Nope.
Yeah. All
Uh,
franchises that no longer
exists.
exist.
But the first thing I noticed was I see the Insomniac logo before I even get to the title screen, and I'm waiting for the Insomniac logo and the word to float away and then get flipped back into place. And it didn't happen. And I was like, what is go? Oh, we're not playing Spider Man.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, yep. I've only played Spider Man from them. Got it. And that was how my journey started with this game.
Especially in the weapon wheel. You can see where in the first Spider-Man, like, oh, there is a lot of Insomniac DNA
Oh yeah, that's one of my notes. Like,
injected into Spider-Man.
it feels like I just know it's an Insomniac game when you press start and it's the exact same start menu or options. Especially one thing that we'll get to later that I didn't touch on in our Spider-Man podcast that I wanted to,
Oh yeah.
but we'll get to it later because these games are very similar. You can tell without even seeing the developer logo, it's the same developer. But immediately in the game, I loved one of the first quotes from Dr. Nefarious once he gets the Dimensionator and is not knowing how to use it because he's dumb. And he's like, doesn't anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
Doesn't anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
And the answer is no. I immediately got up and opened my game case and saw the two little clips holding nothing in them in the game case. So, no, no one does print instruction manuals anymore.
I love Insomniac's Ratchet and Clank writing. It's some of
It's
my
good.
favorite in video games. It's so funny. And like this goes back like the tone of these games of this game like is a constant theme throughout every Ratchet and Clank game.
Mhm.
Like Ratchet and Clank just run into these weird characters who say absurd things and then just expect them to deal with it and be like, "Oh, here's the information presented in the weirdest way. Go do your mission."
Yeah.
And Ratchet and Clank are always just like, "Was that dude weird?" And the other one's like, "Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. That was strange." Or we're just kind of left to be like, "What was that?
Yeah.
What is any of that?" I mean, how funny is it that you have this, the monks on Savali, where you
Mhm.
find Kit, um, when you're trying to get the dimensional map. You meet a monk whose name is literally just Gary.
Yes.
It's just Gary.
And
Like,
it's so good. Like, I love when people give their pets human names.
mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you're like, Billy, come here. And it's just a
Come
little
here, Billy.
dog, little wiener dog comes around the corner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hilarious. So seeing an alligator monk named Gary is beautiful.
Yeah. He's like, you can just call me Gary.
Yeah.
It's simpler that way. I'm like, it
It,
really is.
we're not going to wait too much later since that's kind of a good segue into what I wanted to say. Uh, you meet Gary as Clank when he goes into I don't know what space that is in the purple rocks
Oh, the space between dimensions into the anomalies.
anomalies, and that is a puzzle area. You walk around and you try to throw these balls to make things go faster or slow down or stop. And while much better than the like flowing of the electricity and the uh, plant DNA building in the Spider-Man games, uh, just like those games, you can just press options, hit skip puzzle, and be on your merry way. And I love that feature because as much I love puzzle games, big puzzle game guy, but these puzzles just do not interest me because I don't go into Ratchet and Clank or Spider-Man thinking, I can't wait to do the puzzles. You know? Like I was very appreciative of the fact, like, when I noticed going back through the Spider-Man games before Spider-Man 2, like 2 months ago, I noticed that for the first time, I can just skip these without repercussion. And so I did not do a single puzzle in Spider-Man 2. I did one of each of the two different kinds of puzzles in this game. I was like, okay, I experienced them. I'm done.
What's the other puzzle?
The what's the name of the character? The little spider
Oh, the
robot.
glitch.
Glitch.
The glitch sections. Those are at least more fun than.
Yeah, way more fun. But I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't need this. Yeah, I agree. Those are good options to have. I did all of them just because this was my second time playing this game,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, I kind of remember these. Until I played the game again, I forgot the Clank sections existed. I literally forgot they existed, and then I saw them and I went, oh yeah, these are in here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's do them. And I will say I did have to look up the solution on the last one because I was like, I don't remember, but I didn't want to hit the skip puzzle button. I was just like,
Yeah.
I still want to like do it. And once I saw the solution, I'm like, oh, that was very obvious. I'm stupid. Like, you know that thing where you look something up, but as you look it up, the answer pops into your
Yeah.
head. That's kind of what I had. Like, I just had to take a second and back up and see the bigger picture, try to understand dimensionality like Clank was, and then it was revealed to me.
Yeah.
All the secrets of the anomalies were revealed to me.
I was just like, yeah, I think it would have been more fun for me if this was just like a side mission, I guess. Or if it was a side mission, I wouldn't have done it at all. But let's be real. Like, just like a little mobile game. I don't know. Just like
Yeah.
throw Ratchet and Clank branding on it. Just like the Clank game.
What I will say is, because I know this is your first Ratchet and Clank game,
Yeah.
in every game, there is a section that they set aside
For Clank.
where you play as Clank.
Yeah.
So this was just this game's version of that.
Yeah.
The other games, or in other games, there are different versions of it. I mean, there literally is an entire game where Clank is the one you play as.
Yeah.
And then Ratchet gets those little side sections. This game chose to make it more of a puzzle-focused aspect. Other things are, I mean, it's still puzzle-focused when you play as Clank, but there's more combat involved.
Yeah.
There is that. Just so
Yeah.
you know, like, this is not,
And
it's not like specific to this game. And if you go play another Ratchet and Clank, I don't want you to be like,
yeah.
what the heck? Or I don't want you to go in thinking there's going to be no Clank section. Every game
Has a Clank section.
has a Clank section.
Which makes sense. He's another title character. Like, he's just as big in the title in the series as Ratchet. It's
Well, I mean-
just like, when I saw him, I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do as Clank? Like,
Yeah.
are we ever gonna be Clank? Is he just Mimir? Because, like, I don't know, which is fine. I loved Mimir. He's hilarious, but I feel like for a title character, he should be more a part of it instead of just a skippable puzzle and some dialogue.
Yeah.
But I do like the character. I should specify that before the pitchforks come out. I think he's cute. He's funny. I feel bad for him when he just like rightfully places all of the blame on himself for destroying the universe. But I guess it wasn't his fault that it got blown up. But
He did build the Dimensionator, which I did think, after everything they've gone through, for Clank to then build the Dimensionator again and kind of have that exist, I kind of was like, this cannot end well when I first played it. And even this time, I get why he did it. He wanted to do something nice for Ratchet.
Yeah. Maybe not give it to him in front of the entire world on a public stage.
Which actually, we can blame Captain Quark for, because he announced it.
Yeah,
If you remember,
true.
Captain Quark, you didn't see much of him in this game, which is a shame. He's a moron.
I could tell.
Actively tries to kill you a lot and or screw up all of Ratchet's plans,
Yeah.
but he's one of the best characters in the series, and I love him to death. So it's totally in character for him to have been like, he's got a special gift for Ratchet. And Clank is just like, can you shut up?
But he wouldn't have known about it if Clank didn't say anything about it.
Exactly.
So, still, I'm just going to hold Clank accountable here for this.
No, I
for
agree.
his actions.
Clank bears responsibility for the Dimensionator, getting ruptured. If only he had printed instructions.
Yeah. Then Nefarious would have just done some nefarious business and not put portals everywhere.
It cracked me up when he revealed himself as his parade float. Like he put his own balloon in the parade because he didn't have one. His ship that he was flying around in was just, a ship in his image because it's Dr. Nefarious, of course. But like then when he flies away, like the hologram of like him as a parade float like goes away, which means he didn't even get a balloon. He's one of like, if not their biggest foe.
Yeah.
And he he didn't even get a balloon. Ratchet and Clank were like, nah, that guy doesn't get a balloon. Screw that guy.
There are some things that I want to like talk about just as like taking a step back and looking at the series as a whole from someone who has not played any other games, knows literally nothing else other than what's in this game. I was like, who is Ratchet? Like who voices Ratchet? And I'm like, this sounds so familiar. Why is it so familiar? And I looked it up and I was scratching my head because I'm like, Obi-Wan Kenobi is Ratchet? Not even close to the same voice. Like it doesn't even sound like anything he does with Obi-Wan, which is the sign of a good voice actor. But I was just like, I couldn't believe it. But I still am like, why does this voice sound familiar? Like why is this like triggering something in my brain? I did get a lot of like Jimmy Neutron vibes from this. I almost called this game. I love Jimmy Neutron. I felt like parts of it were like a little too childlike, especially for a series where the main thing I knew going in was up your arsenal, going commando, and size matters. I was expecting it to be like looks childish, but not as childish, like maybe a Conker's Bad Fur Day, but not like all the way up to that level. But
older games for sure.
Okay.
Like the PS2 era Ratchet and Clank games are there are jokes that I'm thinking of that I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that was in that game.
Yeah.
Still not approaching Conker's Bad Fur, like doesn't even scrape Conker's Bad Fur Day, but definitely still is like, this is questionable if this is marketed to children. In regards to James Arnold Taylor, who is the voice actor for Ratchet, he is amazing. So like you said, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Johnny Test.
That might be what was tickling my lobe.
He is Tidus in Final Fantasy X. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but that'll be interesting for them, for our viewers.
Yeah.
Who else is he? He was Leonardo in that animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out like in the mid to late 2000s. Who else is he? He's a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Like he is everywhere. He's Fred Flintstone, I think, currently. Like he voices Fred Flintstone in all the Fruity Pebbles commercials.
Yeah.
So yeah, James Arnold Taylor's everywhere, but he's been Ratchet since the second game. And I think Ratchet is like one of, if not his favorite roles. Like he will always come back to voice Ratchet because Ratchet's just like his speaking voice. So it's really easy. But he just loves the character. And I love him as Ratchet, dude.
Yeah.
I cannot hear anyone else as Ratchet.
Yeah, he plays it well. I just like, as someone who has been watching a lot more child's television, having a small niece, now two small nieces,
Nieces pieces?
Yeah. It is like, it's not like Bluey level, which it's not a knock on Bluey at all, because amazing show for all ages. But it has that tone at some points where it's just like this feels like borderline toddler sounding acting, but it's not really like the dialogue doesn't match it at all. And obviously, we're shooting people,
Right.
but not like there's no real violence other than, which sounds stupid. There's no real violence other than shooting people. Uh, but I'm just like, I just feel it was hard to like really dive into it other than the jokes. And for a game that the story was better than the action for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, I don't know, it kind of took me out of it a lot.
I would say, um, from the perspective of somebody who's played through most of the series,
Hmm.
I think a lot of it just hits better when you have all that context, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that it still made an impact on you is impressive that they're able to do that and make
Yeah.
you care, even though you literally have never interacted with these characters at all, never watched them interact really, like, and
Yeah.
never played the game. So I think that's good. Just a real quick before we move off of the James Arnold Taylor thing. He's also
Yeah.
Plo Koon.
Oh.
Yeah, I just pulled up. There's like an image of like him and all the characters he voices.
Hmm.
Wholesome. Sorry, wholesome is the word that I remembered. I didn't mean to like the game. Sometimes it's childish because
Yes.
it gets to be so. It gets very wholesome.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, and then I got distracted. But sorry, go ahead.
There is one other voice actress that shocked me in this too. Rivet is my girl, Samus.
Jennifer Hale.
Yeah. Which Samus is not really a talking type, but she does play the grunts of Samus in the games. I don't know
Is it the Prime
all the
games?
games. I think so. I don't know. I just was like, why does she sound familiar? Which is she's done way more than just Samus. I was trying to think of something to wear that would be themed around this game, and that this is the best I can come up with because she's Samus.
Yeah, it's the Prime games.
Yeah.
She's the female Colonel Shepard in Mass Effect.
Okay.
She is, oh my gosh, she's Black Cat in the Spider-Man animated series. Jennifer Hale is another one of the
Done a lot
goats.
of stuff.
She is the fact that she has such range because I think she recorded this when she was like in her late 50s.
Hmm.
She sounds so good as Rivet and makes Rivet sound so young.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Well,
I'm blown. Like when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's just Jennifer Hale doing what she does best.
Yeah.
She's just killing it like she always does.
mm-hmm.
This is wild.
And it just reminds me of another Insomniac character, which I mean, voice actor, I should say. Yuri Lowenthal is a lot older than I thought, and he does a really good Peter Parker that
really
sounds our age.
Yeah, 25-year-old. So
yeah,
I'll take it.
which I know Rivet is not. I'm assuming is not supposed to be about our age. I have no idea. They're animals, so
I think Ratchet is at this point supposed to be like in his late 20s because he's like 16 in the first game when him and Clank meet for the first time, and Ratchet didn't wear shoes. He's got weird toes. You should look that up. You guys should look that up. Look at Ratchet's feet.
okay. I don't want to sound like I'm just harping on the fact that this is my first Ratchet and Clank game, but I don't think this is a good one to start on. I think like combat wise, it's fine. Like you don't have to like it's not a hard game. There's not like skills that you need to learn that I could see that you learn in other games that they expect you to know. But the story just doesn't hit that hard because I don't know all these characters. Like I feel like you have to know most of the characters in the entire series to get like a big smile, a big grin from a lot of the story beats cuz like one that was obvious was Quantum,
Yeah, Captain Quantum.
Captain Quantum. I could tell that he was a character from another universe, and like that line where he's like, "He's a hero," and you just look at Ratchet, and he's like, Yeah, I could tell he's probably not really a hero or maybe an anti-hero or a screw up or something, but I don't really know other than what you've said earlier today.
Yeah,
And the guy that we really the first guy we meet in the new universe
the Phantom. The talks like this,
looks like Sid. Yeah.
tearing down this world
Yeah.
from the inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell that he was a guy from Ratchet and Clank's universe that is different in this universe.
Do you want to know what the other character's name is?
What?
Skid Marks. Dude, it's literally throughout the whole series.
Man, that's a great name.
That's why Ratchet's like the Phantom is Skid? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's Skid Marks. He's a hoverboard racer.
I would have loved so much more if he said his full name. I would have been dying laughing because that's exactly my kind of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I would really enjoy watching the rest of the games. I don't know if I like the combat enough to play more of the games. Like, I'm still willing to give them a shot. Like, obviously, we're playing Twilight Princess later this month. I'm willing to give more Zeldas a try, even with my atrocious first experience. And I just felt like, with this game. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But I just really don't like the combat. And I don't know if the story is going to be good enough in the other games where I'm like, yeah, I'll suffer through the combat.
I think combat is better in the other games, for sure. I think it's good in this game. I mean, it's your standard Ratchet and Clank strafe and shoot. Like, that's something that is baked into Ratchet and Clank. Is you strafe
Yeah.
side to side, then you double jump, flip to dodge. Like, that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. But like the weapons, I think, are a little bit more interesting, and I think the weapons do more damage overall. Like, each weapon feels impactful. So when you have to switch because you've run out of ammo, you're not like, oh, I'm literally screwed. Like, I just have this little pea shooter, like the blast pistol. When it gets to
Yeah.
the end, you want it to do more, but it doesn't really do a ton. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's doing enough. And you just feel like you're beating your head against a wall because you're like, okay, he's got 10% left. It's gonna take me another 5 minutes, and I don't have enough ammo for this.
Yeah.
Other games do better about that.
Okay.
I will say, like a Crack in Time, the PS2 games. If I was gonna tell you to play another Ratchet and Clank game, I'd be like, dude, go back and play Going Commando and up your arsenal, and you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll see, because those games are hard, but they're really good and they're crisp.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll get it. You'll be like, "Oh, I think I understand now why everyone is like down for Ratchet and Clank every time a new one comes out."
It's just my biggest problem is there doesn't seem to be any balance between melee and shooting. And like if it is just a shoot 'em up, it doesn't feel like they introduce it that way because the first thing they do in the game is tell you how to swing the wrench and then how to throw it, which funny enough, I instantly forgot you could throw the wrench until the prison break mission, which is the second to last mission in the entire game.
Oh my god.
And so it was like, oh, throw your wrench or whatever rivet has, throw that into the window to break it. I'm like, oh, yeah, you can do that. Like, okay.
You were playing the whole game without being able to throw the wrench?
Well, I could.
Well, I mean, without knowing you could throw the wrench
Yeah,
or the
pretty
hammer?
much. Like I knew it. I remember like, oh yeah, they told me to do that. Like the second thing they told me to do. And then it just like didn't feel like a viable option. And even after I was
That's
like,
fair.
oh yeah,
That's fair.
I didn't do it again. I
Yeah.
did it the one time when they told me to, and then the second time when they told me to.
Because you told me to.
Yeah. Especially after coming off of Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man just being one of the best combat games I've ever played. Having the balance between weapons and melee and then the swinging and all of that stuff in Spider-Man. And you have what seems to be like throughout the entire game. When I had the opportunity to swing my wrench and hurt someone in 2, maybe 3 hits, and that was it, it felt good. But then there's just like the mini bosses where you can't get close enough to hit them. You're just going to get hurt and you're going to die. And I want to be able to stun them, maybe. Maybe I should have bought the freeze weapon, but I don't know what's good in this game. I want to be able to hit an enemy and then turn and shoot an enemy. Instead, I'm still recovering because my pointer finger is on fire. Thinking about this game, my entire forearm is burning. Literally, I played this in 2 parts. I played it day 1, and I got about halfway through the game, according to IGN's walkthrough chunks. And then I finished the other half of the game the next day, maybe a day in between, and I was done. I think it was back-to-back days because day 2, I see the title screen after beating Dr. Emperor Nefarious, and I could feel the burn all the way up to my elbow just from holding the trigger down.
Yeah.
Plus, I was using the trigger effects, which makes it significantly harder to keep the trigger held down the entire time.
It is kind of cool, though.
It is cool. I love that. I'm not like bashing it. I'm like,
but I
for a game like this,
I understand.
where it's bucking back in the trigger, it just makes your forearm burn. And I'm like, okay, it would be really nice to be able to switch it up more than just hold and shoot until I'm out of ammo and then swap to the next gun and hold and shoot until I'm out of ammo. And then, oh, now I've got to spam the trigger because it's a shotgun or it's the sniper. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's just shooting all the time. And I guess if I had gone into the game expecting it to be a shoot 'em up, then that's one thing. But I don't even know if it's classified as a shoot 'em up.
I think it's a third-person shooter.
Okay.
Third-person action-adventure shooter.
Because
Platformer.
It feels like it is, you're going to just shoot the whole time, and then you'll do some platforming and maybe some melee here and there.
Pretty much, it's like you are supposed to have like movement down with the flips and dodges and stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where you never have to stop firing the gun.
Yeah. Well, I got to that point.
Yeah.
But then I would also get to the point where, oh, I'm out of ammo.
Yeah, and I think honestly, had you gone and done some of the extra challenges to get more bolts so that you could buy more weapons, I feel like the running out of ammo wouldn't have been as much of a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what not what you're expected to do. Well, actually, yes. It is what you're expected to do is you're supposed to get all the weapons so that
you don't run out of ammo.
You don't run out of ammo because, like, I only go with I only use the rocket launcher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna run out of ammo all the time.
Oh yeah,
which happens because you have your favorite gun.
Yeah,
I mean, you have the one you're like, I like this one a lot.
The shotgun.
I like the Agent of Doom. Did you get that one?
What is that?
That throws out little robot minions that will attack and munch things for you. So that thing will shred bosses. Like you just throw out a few of them and it will just do constant damage to them.
Yeah.
And then you can like run around and look for health and, you know, pepper them with blast pistol shots. Because that's the kind of thing is the blast pistol is weak. And I know it's the gun that they're like, all right, this is what you use when you have nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
But when you combine it with with the Mrs. Fungal, did you get that one? The little mushroom drone that will also shoot at enemies for you?
No.
So if you combine like the Agent of Doom with the Mrs. Fungal and then the blast pistol, the boss's health will shred. Like it'll start to go down. That's kind of the thing is I feel like you not going out of your way to get all the weapons. I know you're like get to the end, get to the credits, A to B. I feel like though had you stopped and maybe if you play a Ratchet and Clank game in your free time, maybe not for the podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe for the podcast. If you take maybe a little bit more time and just buy weapons and try them out, you'll have a better experience because you'll have more weapons to use with more ammo. And then also oh my gosh, I completely forgot the second half of that point. But anyway, I think you'll have a better time if you take your time and
yeah,
use more of the weapons.
But see, even if it's not a game for the podcast that I'm trying to complete fast. Like I still play games how I would play them myself. Like maybe I cut a couple corners, especially if I'm like, okay, we need to do this like now.
Mm-hmm.
I might cut a couple corners. But other than that, in my spare time, when I play games that I want to enjoy, the way I enjoy them is I go from A to B. Especially because, like, in this game specifically, I'm like, okay, in parentheses, optional. Then it tells me what to do. I'm not even gonna read what it is because you just told me it's optional off rip. Okay, swipe to the next planet that says optional. Go until it doesn't say optional. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, and like to me, if it says optional, especially that clearly and up front, up my arsenal, I don't think I should have to do it. You know, like it should be, especially at the median level, which I did text you day one. I'm like, this game is baby easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
up until you hit some sort of mini boss or regular boss, it is not a hard game at all, which is
No.
fine. I don't always want a challenge. I do like a challenge, but I feel like I'm like tangenting off of tangents now, but the I like the challenge that a lot of games can bring, but this game's challenge is just okay, this boss has more health and you're just going to hold the trigger longer and now you can't have an opportunity to use your melee because the things that are swarming around you are just going to make it impossible to not stop shooting. Like you cannot afford to let go of the trigger in a lot of these mini bosses. And I'm like, this feels a little bit arbitrary because you just added more people and that was really all the difficulty here. But yeah, I lost my original point. But
I mean,
I
I get
just
what you're saying.
yeah.
How you play games is you like to go from A to B. And you also don't like that they added kind of arbitrary difficulty by
Yeah.
just adding more enemies.
Like I think if
I get that.
they would have taken a little more time to make the mini bosses like you have to do a certain maneuver to be able to beat them or like maybe even if the weapons were like okay, you get this specific weapon and you will do good against this specific boss. And maybe they did, but they didn't do it into a point where I got that. Like they weren't like, "Hey, wink wink, nudge nudge, you should get this weapon right now." Other than here's the new weapon or this one's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
Which also that robot lady at the shop,
Hey there, sugar.
I
Mrs. Zircon.
was so annoyed by her. I could not stand her. I like the like outlandish the over the top accents of a lot of characters, but man, she was just really annoying to me.
There is a weapon though, like you know the bar that you go to Zerky's,
Yeah.
and there's the bartender is Zerky.
Mhm.
So he's actually a weapon from the previous games called Mr. Zircon, who's really funny because he's like, Mr. Zircon wants to kill stinky aliens. Like that, and he just every time he kills something, he's like, Mr. Zircon has ended your pathetic existence. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I agree, Mrs. Zircon is kind of annoying. She's got that Southern Belle charm, which doesn't bother me innately. I mean,
No.
I like characters like Rogue from the X-Men who has that,
Yeah.
but she just talked too much.
Yeah, that I think that was more my annoyance with her cuz like it's not to me, it wasn't too obvious when I'm in the upgrade section which like hexagon I've selected and which one I haven't
Mm-hmm.
already purchased because like there's some gold ones and then like there's two different shades of blue I think. It's not very obvious
I think
and
the darker ones are the ones you haven't bought.
I would press one or I'd accidentally press one because it's like they're hexagons, so it's not just straight up and down or left and right,
Right.
which was really annoying. And I would accidentally hit X on one, and she'd be like, "You already bought that one, honey." And it's like, "Shut up! I
Can't
figured
upgrade
that out.
again, hun.
Yeah.
All
It's
right, thank
like,
you.
okay. Like the menu just could have been a lot nicer and she could have just shut up. Maybe if I like start spamming it and I'm like, why isn't this working? Then she can let me know. With like frame one, she starts yelling at me because I've already selected this one. Got on my nerves after the 100th time,
Mm-hmm.
but also a bit of user error, I guess, on me.
Yeah. I mean, anything after the 100th time
Yeah.
is annoying, I
Mhm.
think. Even replaying Marvel Spider-Man. I mean, I'm still playing it, guys. You know I'm still playing Spider-Man.
He won't stop.
Even after the 100th time I do one of those crimes, hearing Spider-Man's voice lines, even for me, eventually get to a point where I'm like, all right,
We
I've
get
heard this
it.
before. I
Yeah.
may just turn off the dialogue sounds. We're not there yet. I did it with Marvel Spider-Man Remastered
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, I've heard a lot of these, but
Yeah. You've
I
probably
get
heard
it.
every line of dialogue in that game.
I think that, and then I get YouTube videos recommended to me that are like less than 30 seconds, just
Mhm.
showing something cool in the game. And I'm like, I had no idea that was in there.
Hmm.
Okay, never heard that before. Whatever, guess I don't know everything. Okay.
Guess I gotta play it again.
Guess I gotta, delete a save file and play it again. No, I'm not that crazy. I'm waiting for New Game Plus. Please?
Yeah.
Please? Maybe it's out by the time this podcast is out.
Oh, I
Please?
hope.
Please?
Actually, I kind of hope we wait a little bit longer so we can finish the year uninterrupted. But
This is true.
Twilight Princess,
I never get to do anything uninterrupted.
yeah,
But Twilight Princess is going to be.
tough.
I think one of my other favorite characters, not an annoying character, is the Morts. How everyone is called Mort,
Yeah,
which is very funny to me, and they're just Canadians.
and he reminds me like not Canadian, the character I'm thinking of, but he reminds me of. I think he's also named Mort in Madagascar. The little
Hi, King Julian.
yeah,
Yeah, it is more. That's funny.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he's small and furry like them. I mean, they're all furry in
but
Madagascar.
they're
But
not psychos
no,
like the one in Madagascar.
yeah, not the same type of comic relief.
Mort, what are you doing? What's that one? Maurice, I broke my back. I cannot move it. Move it. Another character we really haven't talked about, actually, a dynamic between two characters that is really good, is Rivet and Kit. Because you
Mhm.
find out later in the game, you find out pretty early that Rivet has a robot arm, because,
Yeah.
it's very obvious.
Yeah, you
But
can
then,
see it.
Then you find out later in the game that the warbot that took her arm is actually Kit, our adorable little Kit.
Mhm.
And I really liked that dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, because Ratchet and Clank, they kind of just came together and were just friends. Ratchet was kind of mean to him at first, but they grew to like each other. Rivet and Kit immediately giving them that little bit of friction, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
I thought that was great writing, and they had to come together despite that fact. And I think it showed a lot of growth for Rivet, how she grew to be more trusting of robots,
Mhm.
when regardless of the fact that Kit was the robot that took her arm, she went back to save her.
Yeah.
Which is, in direct contrast to in the beginning, Clank is like, hey, this is where I'm from, this is what's going on. And Rivet was like,
No.
yeah, sure, whatever you say, I'm going to plug a thing into your head and scan your memories because
Yeah.
I don't trust you. So I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
I've always liked that development.
I think that the better arc for me was just Kit's arc because she's just like she couldn't even trust herself, and she knew because when she took Rivet's arm back in the day, she's like, I can't trust myself. She goes to live with monks and live a peaceful life, guarding this library, the archives, the Jedi archives, and
The Jedi text.
she which great comic relief where it's like, ah, yes, small tiny little innocent robot is going to turn into big giant robot that is super destructive, but it's like it's funny, but it instantly turns into this really cool story of I don't trust myself, and then she overcomes it in the very end. One nitpick I have is I preferred Katie because it's KT, not Kit, but I guess it fits better in the whole tools naming scheme.
Yeah.
But either way, I liked Katie. It's kind of like FN Finn.
Ratchet was really just trying his best.
Yeah. But I really liked her story, her development. Uh I thought it was like I know that they had to like go and they were already wasting time in the rain on that jail planet, the jail area.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, wow, she did not give Kit any time to think about if I'm gonna go with him or not. She's like, "Are you coming or what? All right, see ya."
Yeah.
She's like,
Kit's like, no.
"I'm out of here."
Well, Kit was being very stubborn. Kit had to realize that her own feelings of trust or her own self-doubt, not feelings of trust, that doesn't make any sense. Her own self-doubt needed to be put aside for the sake of the universe.
Yeah.
Even though really what she had been through was traumatic. And also the person, though, she had hurt and traumatized herself,
Mm-hmm.
or the person who was also part of that traumatic event had forgiven her.
Yeah.
She's like, come on, let's move on. Let's save the universe. I did think it was cute when they meet for the first time and Rivet's like, so do you want to
Yeah.
like
You wanna hop on?
You want to do the thing where you hop on my back
Yeah.
and
Which is like, I know that Rivet is the counterpart to Ratchet, but does everybody in this universe just have a bolt that
a hex
robots,
bolt shaped.
that they can get robots to hop onto?
If you're a Lombax, yes.
Apparently. But one of my other like nitpicks is like, okay, so the Nefarious' rift into Ratchet and Clank's dimension, and they obviously have the Dimensionator to take them there. How does anyone else get there? Does the rift just never close and they just hop on in there? How do all of the good guys go back to Ratchet and Clank's universe to fight them? How does Kit get there?
I'm assuming due to the unstable nature of the dimensions,
Mm-hmm.
and because Emperor Nefarious was kind of firing that thing willy-nilly, the rifts were just kind of left open.
Yeah.
Also, he probably had to create one big enough for his whole army to fly through. So then
they just snuck in there.
They just followed. Yeah, they just followed him.
But also just like they leave Kit stranded on this planet. They go to a different planet to then go through this rift. How did she just figures it out in the nick of time?
She can fly.
Okay. But like across planets without ship?
Yeah. She's a warbot, man. Emperor Nefarious was afraid of her in her warbot form.
This is true.
He was like, you. So he knows that he built something crazy.
Yeah.
And then she left. And he didn't really seem to care for whatever reason. Well, it's because the Nefarious Eye, whatever the plural for that is.
The Nefarious.
The doctor's Nefarious.
Yeah.
Really, I guess, do things and then don't really think about consequences. So it's kind of a running theme. Also, how did no one figure out that wasn't Emperor Nefarious? Yeah. Like they have.
It doesn't even sound the same.
Don't even. I mean, they sound similar, but like
one's British and one's like.
Yeah, one's whiny and the other one's British. Yeah. Well, and obviously one's orange and white and the other one's green and purple.
Yeah.
At no point did anyone ask any questions. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It's just like, nope, we're just going to accept this madness. Okay. Even the assistant.
Yeah.
Who apparently was bugged and didn't know it.
The whole helmet thing was just like, that's a MacGuffin right there.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Okay. This guy who's apparently Captain Quantum, just has this chum bucket helmet that can see what Emperor Nefarious can see. And I'm just like, all right. And then pirates. And yeah. That whole section just felt a little weird to me. It was fine. The comedy was good for it. I think it dragged on a little too long. It would also been cool to see him actually do some fighting the guy who dresses like a superhero in his day-to-day life. One of my biggest complaints about going back to combat and like the balancing of melees, I think I kind of briefly mentioned it, but like none of the bosses are meleeable. And in that final fight, specifically, I mean, like you obviously cannot melee the screens of the Nefarious robot,
Right.
but that part wasn't bad. It like I did not struggle with anything other than the one fight. I think in the prison area, there's like a room. The assistant when she's like, "Oh, I'm just a little robot. Don't hurt me."
Oh, in her like
And then
control
she
room.
sends like an army to you, and she's like, "Ha, you fool!" Is like that fight was tough for me because I kept running out of ammo, and then I can't melee because there's robots that are sniping me from the air.
Oh, the sniper bots. Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't even. I don't think it was the sniper bots. Those were like really easy for me. It was just like
the big ones with
they
the.
were. Yeah, the big ones with the giant laser were the sniper bots. Those were easy. But it was like the ones that like would shoot just like normal streams of
Oh, like
bullets.
that had like the.
They had. I think they were like double shooters, and they
Yeah.
were like blue bolts that went across. Those man, those were annoying me because like I would always end up I either had no ammo or I had shotgun ammo or I had oh the worst weapon in the game to me. Those little like bombs that you get very early that are really cheap. I hated those. Those there was never a good time to use them. They were always super weak. I refused to upgrade them, mainly just because like the upgrades in general just didn't feel like they did anything to me. I felt like there wasn't a huge difference other than like ammo count, but I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the upgrades, especially the orange ones, can actually change how the weapon functions.
Yeah.
Like the ice one, the cryoblast. If you upgrade that one, you can break an enemy out of the ice and it will shoot ice shards everywhere. So it
Hmm.
gives it more of an area and it gives it an attack capability instead of just freezing them. Just as an example, or like a bigger explosion, more damage, which that comes through. Actually, more damage comes from just the weapon upgrade system itself, like the weapon XP bar at the top.
Yeah.
Like if you get your weapons to level 5, they're gonna smack. They're gonna smack a little bit.
Yeah.
But getting them there, that's the hard part, is because you kind of have to force yourself to use a weapon
That
you
sucks.
wouldn't otherwise use. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. I'm just not a big fan of like this is why I don't like or have any interest in a lot of RPGs that aren't Pokemon. It's just like I don't want to unlock something just to rank it up. I've never been a fan of skill trees, and I'm thankful that there's not a skill tree in this game. I just want to unlock the weapon. Like I have to grind to get the credits to unlock the weapon, and then I have to grind to level it up and get all these other things from these crystals that I can actually upgrade the weapon. Like actually using the weapon doesn't really do anything for the upgrades in that little hex menu. And
No,
it's just like, man, I didn't know till halfway through the game that those crystal things were how I got those. I don't even know what they're called. The upgrade tokens,
the raritanium.
raritanium. I was just like, ah, probably something that I would learn from other games. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I just,
the older games I think did it better. The more you use the more you use the weapon, the better it got. So you were like rewarded for just using weapons.
yeah,
Especially 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are so good.
yeah.
Man, you got to play those. They're so good.
I just don't want my finger to hurt from playing a game. That's all.
No, that one you use the circle button, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Jump and press the circle button.
Yeah, I just like it just didn't interest me because there wasn't a ton of strategy to the combat.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd feel differently if I didn't come off of very recently playing Spider-Man where the combat is perfect and there's a lot of strategy involved, but it's just like I dodge and then I keep shooting and then I dodge and I keep shooting and like it's just target practice for
Yeah.
12 hours. I don't know. I did. I enjoyed my time with the game, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I will ever play this game again. No new game plus for me. Not gonna go back and do the optional quests. I'm just like, okay, I've experienced it, and I will probably give one more Ratchet and Clank game a try before I decide whether or not I want to keep playing them or I'm just done with the series.
So did you collect any armor at all?
I found one of the rifts probably 2/3 into the game.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, and I was like,
So much of your if you collect the armor pieces, you can then it'll then give you like a 20% damage decrease or increase against certain
oh
enemies.
man. See,
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank is one of those games where you kind of do have to go and collect a lot of the stuff.
they don't explain that to me. How am I supposed to know, man?
You just collect it and you're like, oh wow, this gives me this. I
Yeah,
want to find more of it.
but I didn't even notice a rift. Like I literally fell into the rift. It was on the pirate planet. I don't remember which time. I think I think it was when we were going for the pirate trials and I fell off of the
What?
bridge and on the beach a bunch of little like crab enemies were attacking me and I look over and I see there's a portal into a different area. I'm like, "What's that?"
Uh-huh.
I walk in, do a little platforming segment, and I get like the pirate hat or whatever it was, one of the pirate gears. I'm like, "What?" And then it's like, "Press this button to go in the menu." I'm like, "Aight." And I go into the menu and it's like telling me the introductory stuff for the
You missed the
armor.
tutorial rift where you even got the armor at
I
the
guess
beginning?
so.
Dude.
But then that was the other thing. Once it showed me everything, it looked like I was only missing like 2 pieces of armor. I had collected a bunch of stuff, but I don't remember collecting anything. The only thing I ever remember collecting was the pirate armor. I found the rest of the set later in that level, and I think that was it.
That
I
one looks pretty
put
cool though.
because I put on a bunch of different things. I was trying out different like I had the Clank set, I had every set. It looked like almost every set. And I wore all the Clank stuff except for the helmet, and I think I went with the I don't remember what helmet I used, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, you did not have every set.
No,
Because there are like
how many are there?
I think there's like 19 maybe?
Because I feel like I
Because
had
you had
a
deals
solid 8.
you had the DLC ones,
Oh, they just
which
gave it
offer
to me.
no bonus. Yeah, it was like a free update.
Oh,
They offer no bonus for having them collected. But the other armors do offer bonuses if you collect all the pieces, and you don't have to wear them. You get the bonus just by collecting all the pieces, which I actually really liked the armor system in this game. We haven't actually touched on it, which makes sense because you did not
and
find them.
experience
You
it,
didn't experience it.
and I don't
So
enjoy it.
I will talk about it. It is very cool. You get to mix and match pieces. You can change colors. I played primarily on Ratchet with the set from the Going Commando game. His like green armor with his cool helmet with the green visor. Because I really like that set.
I think I did. I think that was one of the ones I had.
Yeah, that was one of the free update ones.
Oh, okay.
For Rivet, I think I gave her the like Marty McFly looking gear where she had like a puffy jacket and like some snowboard goggles. That's the one that I had on her mainly.
That is one thing I want to touch on while it looks like you're looking stuff up.
Yeah.
Uh the the fact that you can just have everything unlocked for both characters. There was some throwaway line like, "Why do I have all this stuff?" And it's like, I don't know. Like,
Well,
sure.
Mrs. Zircon says, I don't remember having this balance. And she's like, I added our mutual
Yeah.
friend. Where it's like, all right, I mean, it would be annoying if you had to re unlock everything
Yeah.
twice. So I appreciate that they even tried to address it in
In the game.
the game to kind of explain, like, hey, this is
Yeah.
why Mrs. Zircon just assumed because you both are Lombaxes that you'll want to share your weapons and gear and everything. This is
So
the one that I was talking about.
Oh yeah,
the
that is
snowboard.
definitely very Marty McFly.
Oh, there's the light. There you go. Yeah.
Uh,
Super cool.
yeah. So does that mean with that line and all the other context around it, does that mean that Mrs. Zircon is just interdimensional? Is she the same being?
Well, no, because they're both in the same dimension throughout the game.
Oh yeah,
Ratchet and
that's true.
Clank are in Rivet's dimension.
That is true. I forgot about that. See, I already forget major piece of story, and it's been 2 days.
It's okay. It happens pretty quickly.
I've had a very long week, which I can talk about now. Go buy Black Ice if it's not sold out.
And then go
Retro
watch
modding.
the Key and Peele skit on Black Ice because that's really funny. You know, Jake, I feel remorseful that you didn't enjoy your time with this game as much as I wanted you to.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this was a good jumping in point, and then your homework for next week. No, I'm kidding. I do want you to play the second game because the second game is
Yeah.
still one of the best games on the PlayStation 2, and I feel like you will enjoy that a lot more because it's very much a more straightforward experience.
We'll put that in the backlog for the podcast here.
Because this is the Backlog Club.
Yeah.
I don't think we said that, but we don't
No.
really need to anymore if you're this many episodes in.
Yeah.
Although, if you're a new viewer,
I mean,
welcome, but who cares?
eh,
I don't care
you're
about
new-
you. No, I'm kidding.
if you're a new viewer, go down, exit full screen. If you're on YouTube, make sure you can see the subscribe button. And I'm going to say, hit that subscribe button. 'Cause apparently, there's a new feature where when you say you should subscribe or something to that effect, the subscribe button like glows or does some sort of animation. Someone told me in a comment.
Subscribe.
Someone
Subscribe.
commented on my channel today saying, I subscribed because it was glowing when you said it. And I was like, wasn't me, but thanks. I do want to say, I want to touch on very quickly the fact that a lot of people have complained saying, oh, this definitely could have worked on PS4. This shouldn't be a PS5 exclusive. Look, you can play it on PC now, and I'm using a hard drive and it's fine. But if you play it with a hard drive and not an SSD, your experience will be going through a rift to pause, and then you go through the rift and you're on the other side. And it's like, yes, it's playable. It's not a good experience. It's not how it was intended by Insomniac.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest frustration for me. I don't give a crap normally. And it's a dumb thing to even like argue about, but it's the Xbots that are like,
Uh-oh.
oh, well, look at this, man. This could clearly work on a hard drive. It's like, yeah, it works.
Yeah, but Sony owns the company and they're the publisher, so they get to decide. That's how, businesses work.
But also, to add on to that, I don't defend it as much anymore because I think the rifts were very underutilized. Knowing I had not seen any gameplay other than trailer footage, and maybe some B-roll clips of some other people talking about this game very briefly in other videos. They make it seem like you're going to be hopping through dimensions like in every level. Like if you've watched or played Astro's Playroom or whatever it's called on the PS5, the little demo thing that everybody can play on their PS5, that game you hop through a bunch of different scenes in at least one level. And that's how I imagined it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of a marketing gimmick.
I will say,
maybe it's an optional level thing.
I will say, there literally are like 2 whole levels that are entirely based upon you smacking a crystal in a completely different version of the entire level. That
the power scene, the power stuff.
When you get the phase crystal, the phase quartz, whatever. When you go to the drill planet.
Oh, that one too.
Yeah, you literally smack a crystal, and in less than a second, the entire level has completely changed. That's wild.
Yeah, and like
blew my mind the first time.
I don't want to sound like a hater because I know I'm definitely coming off that way. I just expected that to be in every level, and maybe that would have beat the gimmick to death. they only really did it in that level, which was cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of sick, especially with like the character dialogue in the very beginning, where you're like, okay, this is what's gonna happen when we eventually do the thing that we came here to do, and
Mm-hmm.
you're swapping between it. That was fun. And then you do it again, not as cool in that power scene where you're trying to. I don't remember what you're doing there, but you're
Who are
like
you playing as?
uh, Ratchet and Clank
Or are you talking about when you have to
with the
forge the
fish guy.
Dimensionator? Yeah, with Juice. Yeah, where
Yeah,
you're trying to
Juice.
forge the Dimensionator. So you're going back and forth between the two
Yes.
nefarious like bases or underwater bases so that you can
Hmm.
find working parts too.
Yeah, that was like it wasn't as cool to me. I liked the story in that level, but I didn't really care for that level as a whole too much. But I was hoping that the game would be a lot more of what it was on the Drill Planet, and that's why I was like, man, we didn't really use the riffs all too much.
I do feel like had they used that too much, it would have just become annoying. Like,
Yeah,
oh, we're going through this again. I feel like those two levels were an even better display of what they were going for. I mean, they did it even while you were grinding on rails. You
that
smack a
was cool.
crystal and you shift, and it's like, what the heck?
Hmm.
The fact that we're at a point now, and this was just the first iteration of this technology from Insomniac.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw it in Marvel Spider-Man when you did the Black Cat
yeah,
level
and that was
and the
another
fast
thing.
travel. Like it's only getting better. Like this being the first iteration of it, they did it super well. This was the first next gen game
Yeah.
on the PS5. Just real quick, I know we're talking about the riffs and
Hmm.
how they were utilized, but this game is literally so close to like animated movie level
Yes.
quality. It is blowing my mind. Like this looks better than the movie Toy Story from the 90s. Like this looks
Oh
better than Toy
yeah.
Story. But that's the thing is like it like you remember when you'd watch a game or you'd play a game and there was the pre-rendered cutscene
And then it would jump to
to
the
gameplay.
yeah, and
We're
it's
now
like
getting to the point where
it's almost identical
they
or
they are
it's just rendered in game.
yeah.
Like this one, a lot of it, if not all of it, was rendered in game.
Well, I mean, like if you told me this was a movie, I would believe you.
Yeah,
I would believe like it looks almost exactly like the Ratchet and Clank movie.
that was one of my thoughts. Was like, wow, maybe some game studios should just make a movie because that's what
Naughty
they
Dog?
do. They're just movies that are playable, which I
Naughty Dog?
enjoy. But yeah, Naughty Dog, by the way, should just make an original game again.
Neil Druckmann, we know you want to make movies. Just make movies. You've said yourself you don't make video games to have fun. So,
I just can't. I love making fun of how they made a game, then remade or remastered it, and then they made a sequel, and then they remade it, the first one, and now they've remastered or remade the second one.
when did The Last of Us Part 2 come out? It was
Uh,
like 2 or 3 years ago.
2018, 2019, 2019. I'm gonna go 2019. Final answer.
We're doing that we're really remastering a game that there has not been enough time for there to be nostalgia for.
Yes,
And then they're going to charge us full price for it.
yes.
Okay. So,
Jordan, they remastered a game like a year after it came out, and then they remade the remaster like 5 years after it came out.
well, we know The Last of Us Factions is never coming out.
Yeah, and they
Never.
promised that, and it didn't come.
Yeah, because Bungie walked in and went, "This is garbage," which is a lot coming from Bungie recently.
Yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, I agree. I kind of maybe a little bit more riffs, but I feel like with what we got, it was really cool.
yeah, and like not to talk about another game again, but like I've watched almost every Brian. I'm gonna butcher the name, but Intihar.
Ooh, nailed it,
Really cool.
crushed it.
Super cool dude from what I've seen in podcasts. But he loves to talk about how the Spider-Man sequence with Black Cat is heavily inspired by Ratchet and Clank. And when I saw that and I played it, and then I saw it again while he was talking about it on these podcasts, I'm like, this is what the game's gonna be like. and got even more hyped for Ratchet and Clank. And then there was 2 levels like that. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay. But I guess high expectations, bit on me.
I think playing it on release, it would have hit harder.
Yeah.
Like had you played it when the game was like new and before Spider-Man, where they'd iterated
Or
on
when
it.
I just bought it, because I bought it so long ago.
Oh my gosh.
I have a problem. It's called game collecting. That's
Well,
why this podcast
the
exists.
backlog. I just buy games and I go, yeah, I don't want to play that right now. And then I just accept that I'm never going to.
Yeah.
That's why my Steam library is bloated, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm not touching it. It was $3. I feel
Yeah.
nothing.
As much as I wish there was more riffs, the set pieces were really cool. The final boss fight was dope. I
The Fixer.
the Fixer was cool. The as someone who hasn't played a ton of Sonic games, that level I was like, oh, they're doing rail grinding better than any Sonic game has, probably.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Yes.
Ratchet and Clank has done rail grinding since the beginning.
Really?
And it has never left, and it's always so good.
That alone, even though we only did it like a little bit in this game, makes me want to play another one.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually so, with the riffs included, was so much fun.
Yeah, it's in there. I love rail grinding.
There won't be riffs in those ones, I'm gonna assume, but it was cool. But the set pieces were great. They could literally just take that exact same team and make their own Ratchet and Clank movie, and it would probably do really well in the box office. I think, especially if you make it like good enough that kids, like parents, want to watch it with their kids. Parents are gonna enjoy it. Kids are gonna enjoy it. I think it's great.
You do know they did make a Ratchet and Clank movie.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Oh,
It did not do well.
If they did it now,
yeah. There's
how long ago was this?
2018.
Oh,
No. I think that's too recent. It was before that. But
I think with
2016.
today's technology, and it was like a full box office, like blockbuster level movie, had the same amount of funding as the game, it would probably do fairly well. Maybe take a little bit more time if there was a movie very recently that didn't do well.
It got 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh no. Oh no.
I liked
it. Could not have been the same team. I don't believe that. I could see them like passing off the IP to someone else.
No, it was, I mean, so I think they did pass it along to a different studio. Yeah, it was a different animation studio and like a different writing studio, different writing team. But then they did make a game based on the movie, which is based on a game. Which the game was actually better than the movie.
What was the game? Ratchet
and Clank. It was just a remake of the very first game.
Is that what the PS4 game is?
Yeah, the PS4 just Ratchet and Clank.
So that's just a reboot of the original game, but also based off of the movie.
It is a movie tie-in game.
My brain.
Which is a remake of the original. The movie is a retelling of the first game.
Okay.
That game is a movie tie-in game.
I think,
which is also a remake of the first game.
I think my brain needs a lot more time to wrap around that. Again, it's been a very long week for me. So yeah, but I think the set pieces were great. I think they were very movie scale, quality, animation, everything. It was really cool to watch. I think I would have enjoyed this more as a watching thing, but there were still fun aspects to gameplay. I'm always down for some platforming. Yeah, I think that's about it for this podcast. Set pieces were great. Story was decent. Obi-Wan and Samus saved the day. I don't know what else you could really ask for.
Clank was David Kane. He's Megatron, and he was there too.
Yes, he was.
All right, Jake. This camera. Tell the people what you got going on.